French Revolution, from the throne to the guillotine. The French Revolution marked a turning point in world history. It began in 1789 and concluded with the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte toward the end of the 1790s. During this intense period, French citizens radically transformed the political landscape of the country, dismantling centuries-old institutions such as the absolute monarchy and the feudal system. Social unrest, fueled by the economic policies of the nobility and King Louis XVI, who would ultimately be guillotined along with his wife Marie Antoinette, erupted into a movement that, although it descended into extreme violence during the Reign of Terror, also laid the foundations for modern democracy and demonstrated the power of the people's will. Culturally, the revolution took shape within the context of the Enlightenment, a movement that in France acquired deep political meaning. The defense of natural rights to life, liberty, and property became the ideological core of Enlightenment thinkers, who declared that the role of the state should be to protect those rights and to ensure the freedom, safety, and property of its citizens. They opposed absolutism and promoted a regime based on equality and political representation. Since 1751, philosophers, economists, scientists, political theorists, and encyclopedists, the renowned philosophes, had begun to undermine the foundations of divine right monarchy, sowing the ideas that would fuel the insurrection. Reason, equality, and liberty became the pillars of a new collective consciousness. The experience of the 13 American colonies, which had recently achieved independence from Britain inspired by those same ideals, reinforced the belief in France that a people could rise up and shape their own destiny. The causes of the revolution were multiple and deeply interconnected. Although France had expanded its cultivable land, it continued to use outdated agricultural methods from the Middle Ages, resulting in low productivity. Poor harvests and rising food prices worsened public discontent. The bourgeoisie, despite its economic strength, had no real access to political power or social recognition, which remained in the hands of the nobility. To this was added an unprecedented financial crisis, exacerbated by the extravagance of the royal court and state spending. The national debt, aggravated by France's participation in the American War of Independence, had emptied the royal treasury. The spike in grain prices and the misery of the peasantry completed an explosive picture. Privileged classes, the nobility and high clergy, remained exempt from taxes and blocked all attempts at reform. Structural injustice generated increasing tension. The people directed their anger at an elite that clung to its privileges, while the rest of the population suffered. The outbreak was imminent. In May 1789, King Louis XVI convened the Estates General, an assembly made up of the clergy, the nobility, and the Third Estate, which represented the people, to address the financial crisis. But the voting system, based on estate rather than individual representation, disadvantaged the Third Estate and triggered conflict. On June 17th, its members broke away, and declared themselves the National Assembly. 3 days later, they took an oath not to disband until they had given France a constitution. Members of the lower clergy and even 47 nobles joined them. Tension escalated. On July 14, 1789, a crowd stormed the Bastille. Though it was a prison of minor strategic value, its symbolic importance was immense. It represented absolutist power. From that moment, the revolutionary movement spread throughout the country. In rural areas, peasants stormed castles, burned property deeds, and destroyed documents that legalized feudal servitude. This uprising, known as the Great Fear, prompted the National Constituent Assembly to abolish feudalism on August 4, 1789. That same assembly issued the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, establishing the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. All citizens would be equal before the law and taxes. Public office would no longer be exclusive to the clergy and nobility. The king, however, refused to ratify these decisions. In October, popular pressure forced him and his family to relocate to Paris. The assembly moved as well. The situation grew increasingly tense. The Count of Artois and other aristocrats fled France to organize a counter-revolution from abroad. In 1790, the civil constitution of the clergy was passed, which caused a split in the church. Some priests swore loyalty to the Constitution, while others, known as the refractory clergy, rejected it with the support of the Pope. The religious conflict further fueled the counter-revolution. In June 1791, the king attempted to flee the country with his family, but was captured in Varennes. Public distrust in the monarchy deepened. Though a constitution was enacted in September establishing a parliamentary monarchy, the situation was unsustainable. France declared war on Austria in April 1792, and soon achieved victory at Valmy, marking the beginning of military offensives against European powers. In September of that year, the First Republic was declared. The king was tried and executed on January 21, 1793. The guillotine became the symbol of the new regime. Months later, Marat was assassinated, Robespierre took control, and the Reign of Terror began. More than 16,000 people were executed. No one was safe. In 1794, Robespierre fell victim to his own repressive machinery and was guillotined. After the terror, the Directory was established, a government marked by corruption and instability. It was during this period that Napoleon Bonaparte emerged, a young general victorious in Italy and Egypt. In November 1799, he staged a coup and became first consul. With him, the revolutionary cycle came to an end. One of the most important milestones of the process was the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen. It proclaimed liberty, safety, property, and resistance to oppression as fundamental rights. It stated that law must promote equality and prohibit only actions harmful to others. Individual freedom ended where another's began. Inspired by the Virginia Declaration of Rights, 1776, and the U.S. Constitution, 1787, the 1789 French Declaration became a universal reference, a model for many constitutions that followed. Napoleon, although not a direct instigator of the revolution, played a key role in closing that chapter. His 1799 coup marked the end of the revolutionary era. He proclaimed himself emperor in 1804 and expanded the French Empire across much of Europe. Under his leadership, reforms were implemented such as male suffrage, the abolition of feudalism, freedom of worship, with exceptions like Spain, and the famous Napoleonic Code, which modernized the legal systems of numerous countries. Napoleon was both a brilliant strategist and a symbol of boundless ambition. He won decisive battles, commanded the largest armies of his time, but also suffered catastrophic defeats. After his final defeat at Waterloo in 1815, he was exiled to the island of St. Helena, where he died in 1821. Recent studies of his hair have revealed high levels of arsenic, raising suspicions of poisoning, though his death was officially attributed to stomach cancer. Napoleon remains a controversial figure. For some, he was a tyrant. For others, a military genius who applied the revolutionary ideals across Europe. What is certain is that his role was crucial in expanding the legacy of the French Revolution and shaping the modern world.